Welcome back to the slice. I'm saying that to you listeners, and I'm saying that to myself because last week
Come on.
I was gone. And while I missed Steven, I had the best time. I was on my honeymoon. We were in Playa Mujeres, Cancun, and it was incredible. But we're back in the action. Came back in one of the busiest times of the year during the US Open. And as always, we are delivering you an electric show where we will be talking about all of the tournament results. We're going to be talking about what everybody else is talking about, the Sinner doping scandal, where Steven and I stand on it, what players have come out and said some things that maybe we agree with, maybe we disagree with, and how it will kind of shape the locker room maybe going forward. The second story, unfortunately for Steven, on the men's side, I haven't kept up too much with the Canadian women, but we got to talk a little bit about the Canadian failures. And then we're going to get right into our smash or pass segment. Guys, we break down our weeks real quick. And I just want to let you know why we only have two stories on here. If you've been listening to the show, you know I've been dealing with some housing situations. I was supposed to
Yeah.
move in with my new wife back in July. We kept getting pushed and pushed. We're supposed to move in tomorrow, which when you listen to this, is today basically. Supposed to move in Wednesday. I get a text message today at work. Work is very busy, by the way. And get a text message at work. It says, hey, apartment won't be ready until maybe Friday, but just to be safe, let's say till next Wednesday. So that put my head in a blender. My week was amazing. The week before in Mexico, we had the best time ever. And then we come back to the US, sitting, my wife, she has a flat tire, waiting for her at home. We had to deal with that. Got it to the Airbnb. The next day we get the text. I met Peyton Manning in between all of that, which was cool. But it's been a week, man, and it's only Tuesday.
It has been a week, man. You are a warrior. I mean, you and Sitton have got to be a special, God-designed couple for this amount of resistance to be coming after you right at the beginning, I would say. So to me, that's a good sign for you guys how bright your future is. And you guys are great and strong for getting through this. And you will get through it, and you will get into your new place, and you will have it all work out. But right now, that is super annoying for you, JP. So we feel bad for you, but we're happy to have you back.
Yes, thank you. Please tell me your week was better than mine.
My week was better than yours for sure. So, I mean, other than having to do the podcast solo last week, which actually nothing new for me. I've done literally hundreds and hundreds of solo shows here on the slice, which I'm happy to do. But we did miss you. Other than that, I've been playing more tennis recently. So I obviously leading up to the US Open, we had lots of news. We had the Sinner doping scandal. We had Felix Auger-Aliassime getting robbed by Jack Draper, just literally just mugged at gunpoint by Jack Draper scandal. But
Nuts.
then I've been playing my own tennis, and I already told you a few weeks ago how I lost like a 14-year-old girl. Respect,
Right.
she's amazing. But so I'm playing in a new tournament, and I played. Or actually, this was the same tournament. I played this other kid in the first round of like the consolation draw, and he's like first I think he was like 16, but for a 16-year-old, he's like my height, more jacked than I was, and I was like, all right, it's about to be another quick night here. And like he played good, and I know, and he's like, oh, I play 4 or 5 times a week. I'm like, no, I play 5 times like a year essentially at this
Right.
point. So all right, and then I'd actually had, it was funny, we had like a work thing going on before, and I had like 2 beers like a couple hours before that, but I'm a lightweight for sure, so I still could feel it. Like, you know what I mean? If I was playing for my life, I would not have done that. But I'm almost 30. I don't really care. So
Right.
I get out there though, and this kid, he breaks me on my first service game. I'm like, all right. But then I just get into the match, and I start to, use some things I learned in Montreal watching these pros play. And the kid starts to do what juniors do, which is beat themselves. And I don't do that anymore. So I just played solid. I started to sober up, and just ended up playing solid and beat him like 6-3, 6-1, I want to say.
And this was he was a 16-year-old.
Yeah, which is and and I don't feel that bad. 14-year-old, you should feel bad. 16-year-old, he's a man essentially. So
Yeah,
he looked like
there's guys that are about to turn pro at 16, but I guess
yeah,
the funniest optic of of it all is just thinking about this dude is probably like, stoked. It's a school night. He's going to play tennis, and the guy he's playing against is just like has a little bit of buzz going on across the
True.
court.
It wasn't
Not
even a
thinking it.
buzz, it was like a little it was essentially like I could a little bit of misbalance, like, you could tell something was still in the system. It was so
You were
and
playing
that went away
loose.
pretty. What?
You were playing loose.
That's true, and I was playing pretty nice, and then I beat him, and then I went on to play a really good player in the next round but he's older, like, he's like I'm more of an athlete than he probably is at this point, but he's, still a very good player, and, we
Right.
played a close match, and I played some nice tennis, so I lost, but I wasn't even sad about it. So,
We
I'm
got to
actually
get
playing
you to.
another tournament this week,
Ooh.
so I'm getting back into it. I'm starting to feel the competitive juices fly again with tennis, and that's nice. So that's essentially been my week is playing tennis and preparing to cocoon myself for the next 2 weeks. But it's awkward, JP, because my wife's very pregnant. Our due date's like at the end of the US Open, essentially. So the baby could come at any moment. So I mean, to be fair to this podcast, if her water breaks or whatever's going on, I'm out of here. JP's out of here. It's gonna be a short podcast. So I think we're all okay with that.
Something I would love to do is probably
Is
bet on your matches. And if it was available on Betway, which this podcast is presented by, I would be hammering Steven. If they knew the if they listened to this podcast, they would for sure have him as the underdog, seeing his pregame antics. And I love that value at whatever line they set him at. And
I
also,
mean,
before we get into our Betway best bets of the day, we do, and I think I speak for everybody that listens to this show, we got to get some video of you playing at one of these tournaments. We got to get you to set your phone up. Just give us one little clip. Give the people what they want.
I could do that. I got the Swing Vision app, and the post that they sent me to hang up on the back fence, but these ones are indoors, which is weird, but, yeah, I'll get my wife to potentially, if she comes, to film some of it. It's okay. The game's okay. Like, I'm excited to play more and get it to a level where I can, like, go to tournaments and stuff again that are, like, a little bit more serious and
Hey,
play. That'll be fun.
shout out Swing Vision. We would love to bring you on as a sponsor of the podcast.
Bring you back as a sponsor.
Bring you back. It will be my first time with you guys, and your first time's always the best time. But
That's right.
let's talk about the best bets of the day that you can place on Betway, who this segment is presented by. The best place to bet is Betway, 19 and up to play in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Please play responsibly. Steven, you were talking about a little underdog, what the people viewed as an underdog matchup that you are looking like you might hit on that's going on right now. Can you tell us what your next best bet of the day is? A little futures bet that can get the people excited about some potential future coin in their life.
Yeah, so I called right now as we, it's kind of ridiculous to talk about what's happening right now. This is going to come out tomorrow. Bianca Andreescu playing very tight with Jasmine Paolini. Jasmine Paolini beat her at the French Open and Wimbledon this year, but this is the U.S. Open, and Bianca Andreescu won the U.S. Open in 2021, and Paolini has not ever won the U.S. Open. So I thought that's a little value play. So I said that. So right now that's looking okay. Although I think she just won the first set, Bianca Andreescu. I can't really see. Anyways, my value pick right now is let's just look at the outrights. Yep, she did. Bianca Andreescu wins the first set in a tiebreaker. Let's go.
Come on.
Um, so Mystic Mac calls it again. Third quarter outright winner. Right now, the favorite, the fourth seed is Alexander Zverev. But what do we know about Zverev is he oftentimes comes up short based on his expectations. When he said, I quote, this is like a t-shirt, I'll put myself in there, as far as putting himself in there with the best players in the world. Always loses after he says something like that. He's been more quiet recently, but he is the favorite to win that quarter at -138. But we got Taylor Fritz right behind him, who in reality, with these faster conditions and just being a good player, has +650 to come out of that quarter. I like that. So that's pretty good odds, pretty high odds, I would say, for the second best player in that quarter.
And
So
he's
anyways,
due.
that's
I feel
my
like he's due for a little run at the US Open. It's always
true. He isn't.
Tiafo. Tiafo steals the American headlines of American tennis at the last
Yep.
2 US Opens at least. And
Yep.
Fritz, it's I feel like everybody thought Fritz was gonna be the one that would make the deepest run, so maybe this is the year he gets to make that run, and
Maybe. That's our pick. That's our best bet of the day.
best bet of the day. Now, speaking of the US Open and some results, Steven, what has happened? A lot of things have happened today. This has been an electric day. We've seen some high seeds go down in the last 2 days. We've
Yep.
seen some awesome, maybe not so awesome outfits on court, and it's I would say so far it's the US Open has lived up to US Open hype, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that there was a record amount of people on the venue for the first day of the tournament, which
So,
well, actually, JP surprised me. It doesn't surprise me because people said tennis is going to be in trouble after after Fidal are done. Not the case, which is great. But that venue is way smaller than I thought before I went there. I don't remind me. You have been there before, right? With a
I
player
went
guest,
last year for the first time.
right? It did like, that is a smaller, like, square footage of a space than I expected at the US Open. It's not it feels like Indian Wells is a bigger space. Feels like the Rome Masters is a bigger space. It's crazy.
It's almost like the same size as Cincinnati, like,
Yeah.
it's probably not as big, but, like, Cincinnati, I don't know, both places are so walkable.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's not walkable when there's 100 million people inside of the US Open grounds, and it's not that big. So that's interesting. Good for the organizers, good for the USTA for that kahuna money, for selling tickets, bad for the mobility aspect, even for fully mobile people like JP and I at this point in our lives. But not to complain. You know who should be complaining though is one of the upsets in round one here so far. Holger Rune goes
Mm,
out in round one to Brandon Nakashima. We talked about it on the show yesterday. Not a massive surprise to be honest, because Brandon Nakashima has been taking names. He beat Denis Shapovalov, friend of the show. He beat Tommy Paul. He beat Taylor Fritz all in the last like 3 weeks. So this guy is an absolute machine. So I'd look again, best bets of the day. I'd look at him,
yeah,
obviously.
lot of
But
value.
one thing, JP, I don't know if you saw this. Holger Rune tweeted out, he's like, I am so sorry to my fans. He's like, tweets this whole paragraph about how he needs to be better. He loves the support. He's like, it was a perfect day. There was happy kids. The sun
The
was
weather
shining.
was
And
awesome.
yeah, weather was great. And I just played terrible tennis. No offense to my opponent.
I
Like,
know.
isn't that the best? You can tell he's running his account.
Dude, and we need more of that because you see the guys that are not running their accounts, and
Yeah.
it's so cringe, and unfortunately, I know we're gonna get into it, but they need to give the login to Felix's Twitter account to you, Steven,
Why?
because did you see the post of him showing up for day 1? I mean, come on, man, you
Bro, I know. Okay, well, because of all because I tweeted his management team and him have broken up.
right?
So his management team used to run his socials. I know that. So Felix is out there not thinking about his socials, let's be honest. He's trying to figure out how to win first round matches at this point, but he
Yep.
set himself up because did you see this? His picture of him, he's like headed to round
I
1.
know. They
And then people
flipped
just
it, they
reversed it
flipped
and
it.
been like, headed home after round 1.
That was messed up, man. Hey, but listen, Felix, obviously we're fans of you. You're one of the most likable guys. So this is no hate at all. But please, hey, Twitter is my thing, dude. Just in this quarter, I think maybe you could say I've gone viral twice. So if you're looking for somebody to give the login to, look to the slice. We're going to take care of you. We're player first. We'll never do anything to harm you, and we're going to boost those numbers. And now you get paid on Twitter. You get that blue check mark. You get paid extra money in your pocket.
It's not a conflict of interest. I'll still report what I gotta say. I said on Twitter today, it's rock bottom for Chapo and Felix. It is. But
Exactly.
we could be a management team for you as well. So JP is presenting his services. Hit him
I'm
up.
here for you, Felix.
That's right. What about so I ran through all the results yesterday, day 1, day 2. Have you seen anything, JP? I'm trying to think of big issues
So
today. I know Sinner lost his first set and then righted
right.
the ship and came through.
Dan Evans was
Alcaraz,
today, no?
sorry,
Dan Evans was today, right?
correct. Did you see that? Tell me what happened there.
Bro, Dan Evans over Karen Khachanov. longest match in US Open history, and this is
Crazy.
we talked about this weeks ago when Dan Evans decided to forego playing Washington,
Yeah.
put him outside of the top 100, and what do they say? Karma is not a beep. Karma's not a bitch, it's a mirror. And this is what Dan Evans gets for sticking it out, playing with Andy Murray, showing his loyalty. Everybody was like, they applauded him for it, right? Thank you so
Yep.
much for doing that, but you might have screwed yourself over. In the end,
Correct.
it all came around for him, and it should. Dan Evans, yet again on top. Well done, sir.
Yeah, legendary performance. Huge props to him for playing the Olympics. That was cool. And then someone tweeted it out. I think John Wertheim, the tennis gods. They were on. They rewarded him for his sacrifice, and he got the win today. Longest US Open match ever.
Ever.
And he was down 4-0 with another break point. 4-0, love 40 in the fifth set. Came back to win it 6-4. Longest match in history. One of the biggest chokes in history, too, if you're Karen Khachanov, to be honest. That's a tough way to go out. Losing the longest match, and you had like so many chances to finish off the set.
I
But
know.
yeah, legendary performance there from Dan Evans.
Something that I do love about Dan Evans as well is the ankle socks.
Oh, I can't stand it.
See, and usually I'm with you. Usually I'm with you. Can't stand it, but he has some great calves, so it looks nice. And it's just like, dang, he really is here just to show up and take names. And he's not worried about, looking nice with the ankle braces, doing anything too crazy with a socks or a knee brace. He looks springy out there. It makes him look more springy.
I could not disagree more vehemently. I think ankle socks for men in tennis should be illegal. It should be like an automatic point penalty to start the match or something like that. To me, it just looks like you're one of those dads who's just like the wife buys the socks from Costco and she's like the ankle sock. You're like, okay, I'll just don't care. You're at the park chasing around your son with your ankle socks on. You got to be wearing the calf high socks in tennis. To your
Nah,
point, he has great calves. The white ankle sock or calf socks, which he should be wearing, accentuate how big the calves are. It makes it look bigger.
dude,
And
but when you have great legs, you got to show off the whole thing.
are you saying Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal don't have great legs?
I think if they have great legs, but I think if they had Dan Evans' legs, they might have done all those guys you just mentioned are way more into their appearance than Dan Evans. And maybe I just see a little bit of
That's probably true.
myself in Dan Evans.
Oh, that that is true. Dan, I guarantee you those guys are more into their appearance than Dan Evans. He's a funny guy.
You tell me, Steven. My legs look like Dan Evans.
Looks like you just walked back from Cancun, Mexico.
You don't know what these shoes have seen, bro.
It's like you're treading through the cartels on the way back here, running. No, that's hilarious. No, anyways, the Dan Evans 5-set winner from behind with ankle socks. Yeah, that's an amazing story at the US Open. Right now, Carlos Alcaraz is at 1 set all, and he
Ooh.
lost the second set versus Lou or two. And I don't know if you saw this, JP, when you were away, but he rolled his ankle in practice. So
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
did see
watched
that.
any of this match, but I'm gonna probably bring it up here now, actually. But he rolled his ankle, and it was like I've rolled my ankle a lot playing basketball,
Right.
and there's different degrees, but there's no way his ankle is not sore after what he did.
For
It's
sure.
it might not be debilitating. They could put that, but it's just a really bad way to start the tournament because those things don't heal. It literally just takes time. There's nothing you can do to make it go faster.
Yeah. And it's not because when I was looking at the draw, obviously I'm always rooting for Dennis, and you see Alcaraz right above him. That would have been his second round matchup. But after I see the draw, I'm like, that's tough. And then I see the video of Alcaraz with the ankle. You never want anybody to get hurt. If they do get hurt, you want it to be minor. And for this sake,
Yeah,
I saw that happen. I was like, oh my gosh, Dennis might actually he could have a little shot here if Alcaraz is he tweaked his ankle.
the pressure was too much.
The pressure was too much.
Oh, we'll get into the Canadian sob story later here in a bit, but
Yeah.
so that'll be interesting. We got a lot of matches going on right now.
Oh,
Uh,
I need to give a quick shout out to
yeah,
Danielle Collins. Unfortunately, it was her last Grand Slam match of her career. Everybody has seen the year she's had. She announced her retirement at the beginning of the year, and then all of a sudden she took off. She's getting the best results of her career. She's a grinder. She never had the backing of the USTA like a lot of our other people. I saw her dad was like, he owned a landscape business. Mom was waking up at 4 a.m. to take her to practice and school and all the other things. So to see her
Love
have
that.
such an awesome
Love
year, it's just a great feel good story. I wish she could have made a run in the US Open, but Danielle Collins, thank you for what you did for American tennis. Thanks for the attitude and the spunk you brought to the sport as well. We will miss you. I know the season's not over yet, but we'll miss you at the Grand Slams.
What'd you think about her snubbing Stacey Alister, the USTA head or tournament director, I believe, with the flowers at the end? Now that I forgot that she didn't get the backing from the USTA. So I love that. If
Love it.
that's the case, just walk right by. See ya. Thanks for nothing. Peace out.
The perfect ending for her. She left how she started, chip on her shoulder, and
Love
now
it.
can't wait to see what she does next.
That is Danimal. That's what they call her, right?
Yep,
Danimal.
Danimal Collins.
Danimalistic.
Also, shout out Danimals. Had one last week or 2 weeks ago. Had bought me a little 4-pack. Them tastes just as good as I remember back when I
What's a
was a kid.
Danimal? I don't even know what that is.
Danimals are basically like a pretty much like a sugary yogurt smoothie for kids. And there's like a monkey. Monkey is like their logo thing. And he was
Yeah.
always hyped. They had the awesome commercials growing up. You
Oh
always
yeah.
wanted Danimals. My family, we weren't big like treats. We weren't a big treats family, so
You
I'd
guys are
have to get
healthy.
him at my friend's house.
Oh yeah. There's nothing better than being like the family like where their parents are like health conscious so you don't get all the crazy stuff and then you go get it from your friends.
It tastes so good.
You're not allowed to play video games and you go play video games at your friend's house. You're like, "Hey, nice to see you, Mrs. Smith. I don't care. Where's the controller at? I'm here
Turn the
for one
game
thing."
on. I brought batteries.
Yeah. I brought flowers for you to let me in.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't even know how we got talking about that Danimal. Yeah, we'll get into more, results here. Obviously, there's not too many. We're not even through round one. Uh, although Alcaraz is grinding right now, but I'm watching him right now, and I don't think there's any movement issues. I mean, we all know Alcaraz can drop a set in a 5-set match. It doesn't mean a thing. So,
Right.
yeah, I fully expect him to turn this one around. And when Sinner was down a set, I threw a little money on him through Betway, and that was easy cash. So these guys
That's a
they're
vet
okay when they
move.
lose a set.
Vet move. Everybody needs to think about what Steven just did there. Anytime these top guys lose a set, especially the first set, those odds go down, and that is the time to pounce. Betway, they're up to date. You got the live betting on there. So check the app because it's a grand slam. These guys, they're bound to lose it. They're bound to lose an early set.
That's right.
Make you some
That's
money.
right. Okay, let's get into our
Yeah.
first story here. Because I actually have another one that I might throw in there, slide in there quick. Okay, first story is I just want to talk to JP about it because I love his takes. We've already talked about it with a full video show on the Sinner doping situation, but I feel like there's been some more developments and mainly like the interaction with it on Twitter. To be fair, if you're not on X or Twitter, God bless you because your mind
Right.
is probably in a more stable place. Like you're probably in a much healthier place than the rest of the world, but it is absolute carnage right now in tennis Twitter.
Carnage.
Like
Yeah,
the
and Andy
crazy.
Murray tweets out. I think it was
That's
Andy
right.
Murray. At least it's just like tennis Twitter is on an absolute roll right now or something.
Yeah. I think he
Oh,
actually said carnage. That's where I got it from.
there you
And
go.
yeah, because it is. I mean, so Sinners and the main thing, I don't know if it's just my algorithm because I look at all of Pavi G and Kyrgios's tweets about it,
Yeah,
like literally two of the biggest clowns in the world of tennis, uh, just going off about it and just like throwing out like insane opinions. And it's just crazy. And the whole story is crazy. So JP, I don't know how much you saw this when you were on your honeymoon. Hopefully not that much. What's your take on it so far?
dude.
Give it.
It seems like because when I really started diving into it all was when he did that sit down interview with ESPN,
Mm,
which I saw a player quote tweet it and was like, and maybe it was Curious, like, okay, so somehow he gets a exclusive 20-minute interview to explain exactly what went on, but this doesn't happen for anyone else. Like, shout out to his team. And so I guess another part that was shocking me was, I mean, it doesn't shock me that guys weren't like sticking up for him. I was sort of shocked that, mm, all these like fan accounts, which now that I say it out loud, it's not shocking actually, that they're all like, man, that's, all these guys are horrible people, not sticking up for Sinner in the locker room, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, man, maybe people don't actually rock with him like we may have thought in the locker room. And that's the speculation. Ultimately, I think it comes down to like all these guys have talked about, like Sinner has the resources and Sinner has a great team behind him, which a lot of these people that have got popped, like one of the Yemmer brothers, Jensen Brooksby, Simona Halep, she definitely has some resources, but you just wonder, like, uh, pretty much everybody I just named can't afford what Sinner can afford. And shout out to him for putting the
Mm.
right people around him. And I think tennis players do lack that accountability of themselves, or just like the knowledge to like, okay, these are the important things I need in place that will set me up, because it's not like, or it doesn't seem like Sinner broke the rules. He just had people that like were on top of it all. So it's like no fault to him for how he handled it. Why wouldn't you handle it like that?
Well, yeah, I think on that aspect of it, like the fairness of the process towards him versus other players, I think, I don't think what people get it twisted. Like, do they think the tennis world is fair, or like the world's fair? Like,
Right.
it's not. Like the
Yeah.
winner of the U.S. Open gets $3 million. If you lose in the first round, you get 100 grand. Sinner is the number one player in the world because of how he's played throughout his career and he's got there.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of crazy to think they're like, people are like, why aren't they trotting the number 800 player out there in the world and giving them 20 minutes on ESPN? Well, it's because
Right.
no one cares. Like, to
Yeah.
be
No one's gonna
honest, like,
watch.
I'm sorry, but Sinner's the number one player in the world. I have said I don't think he's guilty at all. I think the story makes sense. It makes a lot more sense than a lot of the other ones.
Yeah.
But I do think the whole system is a bit crazy. Like, you just mentioned Jensen Brooksby, and yeah, he's literally out till January of 2025 because he just missed 3 tests. He
Yeah.
didn't even get caught with anything. He just didn't show up for 3 tests, and those are all like, you get texted in the middle of a basketball game you're at watching, and you don't see it for an hour. That's a missed test.
Right.
Um, so
Well,
the whole I get it. Like, I don't want doping done in or I don't want doping in tennis, obviously,
right.
but there seems to be so much confusion on what actually happens because,
Yeah.
as other people were pointing out, uh, Andy Roddick said that every player gets tested during a major. Apparently, that's not true at all. Like, a lot of times, players won't get tested the entire time during a major, and to me, it's like Lance Armstrong survived for so long doping without getting caught. You got to think that if he can do it, there's guys in tennis who can do it and not get
Yeah.
caught. So to me, if it's like if Sinner's doping, everyone's doping.
And to your point of Lance Armstrong, like when they went back and looked at it, I think over the course of those 20 years he was riding, it was like, I guess he won, like, I forget how many he won, maybe 7 or 8, but like of the 13 other champions, 11 of them all got caught for cheating during that same time.
Yeah.
So it's exactly to your point. It's like if he's doping, he's not the only one that's doing it.
He's like the
But
lead. Like I've said, like Clostebol, like people were saying, I said on the show, is like that one is apparently is used for muscle building. Like there's other steroids that are like cardio performance and stuff like that. But I was like, if Sinner's using that Clostebol, he's not using it right because he's like the least muscular guy
the
out of
body's
all the
always
people.
breaking down.
Like you think Alcaraz, like I'm not alleging anything, but there's
Whoa,
guys who are
whoa,
freaks.
whoa.
But there's like Djokovic is 37, hasn't slowed down at all. There's Alcaraz who's just a muscular freak at 18. Like if we're just gonna start throwing accusations around, then it's like where do you stop? Like I guess because I get it. Sinner had a billionth of a gram, but
Right.
you could feels like you get a billionth of a gram from drinking tap water. Like you get a billionth of a gram of
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think something that was fascinating that I guess I saw maybe Dennis quote tweet it, but it was from somebody that we're gonna have on in a couple weeks, Ahmad from the PTPA. His
Mm,
big thing was like, yes, in every other sport, these got Roger Goodell, Adam Silver, like they have to answer for these inconsistencies that happen in the NBA, in the
mm,
NFL. A lot of people don't like Roger Goodell, but at the end of the day, when big things come up, he does get in front of the mic, he gets questioned. Most time he makes himself look like a fool and everybody wants him out, but he's getting out there and doing it. And there is just no accountability, it seems, among anybody on the ATP or WTA. And then, and this goes all the way to the umpires as well. It's like
yeah.
these people have got to face some sort of public accountability, at least let the media ask the questions. How did this happen? And then they can give their answer and then everybody can have their opinions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's crazy, and I think there's no head of tennis essentially, like, people were talking about Andrea Gaudenzi, like, the leader of the ATP, the CEO of the ATP,
Right.
making moves when he was, like, kinda bringing the WTA closer, like, when he was intercepting the Golden Tour kind of proposal by the Saudis, like, he ended
Yeah.
up doing a deal with the PIF instead of letting them do it at the Grand Slams, and you're like, "Okay, that's gangster." But there's no, like, yeah, there's no, like, "Hey, I looked at this, we all looked at this, and, like, we believe Sinner's clean
Right.
based on all this stuff." It's I mean, yeah, there's, like, we've seen the I independent report there, and then also, yeah, we're looking into the discrepancies of the process because it's not clearly not right, so
Yeah. I think
shame.
if you're tennis, you gotta have a face of it from the leadership standpoint. And I don't know why they just wouldn't look at another individual sport. Just watch Dana White after all of these fights, especially the big fights now that he's built it to what it is. It's like if the head of tennis could just show up at each Grand Slam and similar to Dana White, come do an opening press conference. All right. Hey, these were like some of the awesome moments that happened. Love this match. These are some things we want to do differently. Here's what everybody gets paid. It would go such a long way.
Yeah,
And
it would.
you throw a likable guy in there, it grows the sport even more. They're like, "Oh, dang, this dude that's running tennis seems dope." But
Yeah, man, you're gonna drive yourself nuts hoping for that because, like, Andrea Gaudenzi runs the ATP Tour, which does not control the US Open. Like,
right.
which does not control the ITIA, which so it's nuts. It'll unfortunately, in my opinion, never be like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you have all these bureaucrats, which is what the federations are ran by. I was just in Montreal. You got the US Open, you got all these people getting paid the big kahunas, and they all want to have that moment to give the person the flowers, to shake the hand in front of everyone. It's all no, we don't need any of that. That's just all
Right.
them wanting to be on the stage, getting their little. They want to be like show their friends in the Hamptons what they did on
Yeah.
at the U.S. Open. It's
But
all dumb. So it's just where we're at as a
that's
sport.
what shocks me is that there's not a guy that has that, like, the biggest ego and has the most money and is like, "I want to be at every tournament being the guy speaking on it all, and I
Yeah,
will do whatever it takes to make it happen." Because even if that person does come in and nobody likes him, at least a precedent is set of like, okay, this is how it can be. But
yeah,
hopefully the PTPA can do their thing and they can give the players a little bit more of a voice. It was cool to see all of these players getting more active on Twitter without some admins running their pages and giving their
yeah.
voice, because even just that puts the pressure on the ATP tour when there's this like social media unrest of everything that's going on. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. And yeah, Dennis Shapovalov is definitely running his account as well.
He's back.
his
He's back on Twitter, baby. He also shout out Dennis. He did just finally he followed me back last week. We needed that.
Bro, tell him we need the follow as well, bro. We just had one of our players, one of our friends of the show, just unfollow us, which I was very sad.
Oh
So
no.
he's following, and I think he had a management change as well, potentially a new manager who's more involved with his socials. Maybe there's it's a big conspiracy up here in Canada. I'll just say that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Uh, so that's funny. So yeah, anyways, that's the center situation. I feel like we've done it justice. It's
Yeah.
you know, Kyrgios just obviously, has no clue what he's saying. But and in my opinion, like, and he would say, "Oh, yeah, I'm a pro. I've been I've been piss tested." It's like that doesn't mean anything. Like, doesn't make you
Right.
an expert on anything. What it does is he wants to be on ESPN for the long haul. He wants to take as many
Yeah.
checks as possible, and ESPN will let you do anything you want unless it violates their specific set of rules about
Yeah.
what a commentator can and can't do. I was just reading. This is a quick second story, and then we'll get to the Canadians. Ben Rothenberg.
Dude, I think I might have seen this.
Ben Rothenberg is a pretty infamous reporter in tennis. I've met the guy. If I just met man to man from only what I know in person, beauty of a guy, very nice guy, sincere to me. We had a great time together. He's pretty legendary in the sport, though, for getting a writer in the UK, kicked out of basically journalism for plagiarizing, which I believe was legit. This why I thought of this right now is he also got a guy though from ESPN fired um, for basically highlighting that he said Venus Williams charged the net like a gorilla in one of her matches, like said at commentary,
Right.
and literally he like that could be seen like if you just take it at face value for what it is, it's like that's but it's obviously with the racial element there. Probably wouldn't have been anything, but Ben Rothenberg highlighted it, got this guy fired. He was like an inner city coach with like African American youth, like coaching tennis, like really good guy, wasn't a racist at all, got
Yeah,
fired. And then he's also been obviously railing against Zverev for years now, in a way that some people, including myself, see kind of as more than just journalism. Like
for
more,
sure.
it seems to be like having a personal vendetta. It seems to be trying to enact justice himself, which I would say straight to his face. I think he's just gone too far, and now he's actually getting sued, and he's in a legal battle with Zverev over. And now he's asking the public for money, or asking, I guess, his supporters for money to help fight it, which is very, I would say, it's a messy look on again on tennis Twitter. What do you think about all that, JP?
I'll tell you what I think because I did see this tweet and I wanted to I literally I scrolled, I read it, I saw the GoFundMe link, I rolled my eyes, I thought about clicking it, I said, "Hang on, let me take a second," and I never got back to it. What I'm really curious to see is how many people have donated so far, and I'm clicking on it right now.
I think it's like 10,000 US or something like that.
Okay, let's see. This
Or did you
is
think it was less?
Oh, yeah, so his goal is $22,000 now. Right now, he's at 10,776. I'll tell you
More
this,
than I thought.
Ben, I'm sorry, man. The minute this thing went to a legal battle with Zverev, you should have you should have backed out because that man has way more ammunition in his bank account than you do. But the overall
But that's
arching
not right. That's not he would say that's not the justice thing to do.
Yep, and that's the world we live in, man. But I think I guess I didn't know about the story with Venus Williams, and that really bothers me because there's like a similar dude that we've come across before, and he brought up he like is one of these guys, he resurfaced some old tweets of this NFL quarterback, and it
Yeah.
was like, from middle school when he's saying I don't know what we can and can't say on the show, but he's saying middle school things. And so it got that guy like under all this heat. He lost out on a contract. He was basically canceled. And it was like, dude, what are you doing digging up this old tweet that clearly has like this Taylor Heineke dude has great character. Everybody loves him. His teammates love him. He's everything that's like he's I'm trying to think how to say it. He is the exact opposite of what you're trying to make him out to be. And anytime, you mess with somebody's livelihood for your own gain and for some attention, that's to me when it crosses the line. And it bums me out hearing that about the Venus Williams scenario. And yeah, as I've just scrolled through tennis Twitter and I see Ben Rothenberg just beat the horse of Zverev with something that's already gone to court and settled one way or the other. It's like, dude, what is the end goal that would make you happy? And I think that's an
Yeah.
answer we probably don't even wanna hear from him about Zverev.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, it's at some point, it's like relationships are messy, like, and like, well, like couples fighting gets messy, and like, I'm not gonna, there's just two sides to every story. So, anyways,
Right.
that was one thing that's a very big issue or big thing going on Twitter right now that I just kind of saw. I think the last story, or JP, the third story is I just sent you the article for that was talking about Rothenberg.
Yeah.
Uh, is the Canadian struggle. We're in pain here as Canadians. Not going well. Not going well in New York. I said maybe this year it'll be the Canadian, it will change it back to the Canadian Open, because for a while there, it's been the US Open, but for a while there with Bianca Andreescu winning it, and with uh, Canadians doing better than Americans essentially at the US Open for a while, we started to call it that, but not to be this year. Felix Auger-Aliassime loses in the first round to Jakub Mensik in 3 sets straight. Like I could bring up the score, the final score here, but it was pretty straight. If I could see it, it was. Oh, now I can't see it. Anyways, it was in 3 sets. Denis Shapovalov loses to Botic van de Zandschulp in 4 sets, I believe. And Fernandez loses also today to Potapova. Yeah, sorry. Felix Auger-Aliassime lost to Mensik 6-2, 6-4, 6-2. Just so yeah, so that's bad. And I mean, these guys, this is round 1. So these are 2 guys who
Ugh.
used to be both top 10 and they're still not old, but literally losing in the first rounds again. And I think, Felix hasn't been to the quarterfinals or past out of the third round of a major in like years now at this point, like 2 years, I think. So yeah, it's a bad day for Canadian tennis, but potentially might get better, but not looking good right now.
Yeah. I wonder. I guess after the remaining schedule after the U.S. Open always kind of fascinates me. I would love to talk to the players in the Felix world and like Dennis world, where it's like, all right, your big 4 tournaments are over. You head into this final swing. Are you like fired up to, have a few more opportunities to end the year nicely, or are you more like, let's get this year over with and let me just get to the off season so I can I need a total reset.
Yeah,
Personally, I
I
feel
think
like the reset comes with playing more tournaments, but they're they're the ones that are out there all year. The mental like grind of it all, I'm sure, is just
yeah,
brutal.
it is brutal. And from what I've heard and felt and heard from people on the tour is that especially when the US Open's done, so many people check out, right? It is a grind to finish the year. Um, and Felix in 2022 had that amazing run in in the fall. He won 3 tournaments in a row, 2 ATP 250s, and then Basel, where I was interviewing him after every match. We had a great time there. And then I was thinking, is he gonna? And then they won the Davis Cup as well that year. Canada won the Davis Cup, which is crazy. And then
Yeah.
he was not able to bring that forward into 2023. And now we're here. 2024 major season is done for him, and he has nothing to show. Disappointing result in Montreal. He had a great result in Madrid. He had a decent run until he got absolutely slew-footed in Cincinnati. But yeah, just a really disappointing run continues for these top Canadian guys. I will say bright spot right now, Gabriel Diallo, friend of the show,
Yes.
our boy. We literally dapped it up multiple times in Montreal. He just won his first ever main draw match at a major against Juame Munar in
Let's
4
go.
sets. So that is big time. That puts an extra, I think, 40K in his pocket after
Let's
just making
go,
it to the first
Gabe.
round. He had to win 30 or 3 rounds to qualify, gets the round 1 win. So, I mean, that's a crazy result there for our guy Gabe, as we call him.
So yeah, that is hype. Shout out you, Gabe. We got Gabe. You not even ask you to come on the show. All I would love to see is just a little clip. You can say, "Hey, the slice, what's up? I heard you guys were asking, what am I going to spend my first?" Because you said this is first time winning first round match in a Grand Slam, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I would love to know, Gabe, what is your first little splurge purchase after your first Grand Slam win? Do you just pocket it, put it in the bank, or do you go? Maybe you just keep it light, buy some nice shoes, maybe you get a little watch. Would love to hear from you.
That 100K for the first round, making it through qualies, that's big. And I did see him post on the Instagram with his girl, Fiona, around New York. He had a little kith bag, something in
Okay.
it. So he went out, got something nice. You deserve that after all your work, big dog. That's a great win. He will play, for the Canadians listening who care, he will play Artur Fils,
Oh,
the 24th seeded Frenchman in the second round. So honestly, could be worse. Artur
could
Fils
be
is very
worse.
good. I will say he's very, very good. They'll both be speaking French. But Artur Fils is about 6 feet tall. Gabe is about 6'9", I think, or
Yeah.
6'8". So
Depends which feast shows up.
that's true. That's true. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, but that's a great result there. That is one Canadian singles player to win in the first round. Bianca Andreescu has without a doubt drop the second set. That's what always happens. It's like literally she wins the first set. It's just like go to the third set. Like you know
Right.
you're losing the second set, just show up in the third,
Just
and it's always
another
a three set affair with her. I was about to put money on the. I think I actually said it in the show. Don't bet on her to win the match. Bet on her to win in three. Like it's the
there you
same
go.
thing. Essentially, there's just better odds in three. So I
That's what
think
I
it was
was
like plus 450, and I think I actually put some money on it to win in three. To be honest.
there you
Um,
go. That's
so
another little vet tip for Betway that
yeah,
Steven's got for you. If it's Bianca, she loves the 3. Wi eve
yeah,
and honestly, I bet there's amazing value on it if you place it after she wins the first set.
yeah. Well, it would get better. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
exactly.
Or after she loses the second set, or it's
Yeah,
a wild. The odds makers, they definitely don't know what to do in that scenario. Watching her, that's why I'm confident. Because I definitely watch more tennis than they do. So that's what I say.
free money there, man.
Um,
I
yeah.
guess
Okay. Well, that's the Canadians, I think, JP. So is it time for smash or pass?
time for smash or pass, man. Our
All
favorite
right.
one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do we got first?
We have smash or pass Kyrgios commentary. I have a feeling I know where you're what you're about to say.
All right. Smash
Oh,
on his commentary on ESPN. I think he's a great commentator on tennis. Pass on his commentary on Twitter as of late. I think it's trash. What about you, JP?
I will smash both of those things solely the reason I'm smashing his Twitter commentary is because he has a large following and he lights a fire on Twitter and tennis needs a fire starter on Twitter.
Oh, does he grow the game?
I don't know if he's growing the game, but he's growing these impressions and he's growing the Twitter conversation.
He's growing his bank account. That's all he's doing on Twitter.
Hey,
But I
yeah.
I know what you mean. But I love the grow the game is like the most overused term in tennis now. They're like, we're gonna grow the game.
It's like, yeah, there's plenty of ways to grow the game that just don't involve Twitter.
True. And I was talking literally about this in Montreal with another journalist. Is like, does tennis need to grow? Do we need to grow the game? Like, what I want to bring more people into the game, as in
Right.
like people who don't feel like they're maybe accepted. I don't know if that's how. I don't know who would feel that anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah, the
we've had
acceptance level
everyone's represented, everyone's paid equally.
right.
It's There's a
Well,
billion
hey,
fans of tennis. It's like the US Open has record crowds. Everything is good. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's grown anymore. So
you
people love to use that excuse. I'm not saying crazy things for the benefit of myself on Twitter. I'm growing the game because I'm a cultural icon. It's like,
hey, you might catch some heat about which we should talk about. I would love to talk about this with a player, but the you said there's equal pay. You know it's always a hot topic of these tournaments like Cincinnati when there's not equal pay between the men and the women.
sure, yeah, that's true. Not in the majors with equal pay. That's what I meant. And then,
Yeah.
but then there's arguments both ways for these other tournaments. So
There are
I would
arguments, and I love those arguments.
you get canceled for one of the arguments though. If you make one side of the argument, you cancellation. If you fall in
Right.
line, then you're okay.
All hey, I think it's safe to say what you and I want is we want fairness.
That's
Now,
right.
not everybody is happy with fairness,
No,
but it should be fair.
and that's fair is subjective.
Yes, it is. And I guess we kinda grouped in this smash or pass, we grouped in the commentary and the Twitter game.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We hit a double pass, or I had a double smash. Steven, he split.
I did a split. Okay, Pavi G on Twitter. JP, do you know this guy? Do you know this clown?
I only know him just based off the last, like, few months, and I know, like, you just previously mentioned, him and Kyrgios in the same air of 2 big clowns, and I
Yeah.
couldn't the first thing that came in my head was like, "God, like, what do I need to do to get in there with them in that conversation?" So, I'm smashing Pappy G on Twitter because I gotta get in the room, I gotta get in that same breath as him, but
Let's have him on.
let's have him on.
We'll have him on the show, and I'll say it right to his face. I think you're, personally, as a person, I don't know you, and I believe you're probably a great person. You probably
Yeah,
love your kids. You probably have a successful life. I hope you do. I wish you health, nothing but the best in life. But on Twitter and with your opinions in tennis, you are an absolute clown show, the worst of the worst on tennis Twitter, and I will say that to his face, no problem.
love
He
that.
knows
Hey,
that I said that.
Pavy G, stand on business. Sounds like you're, smashing Pavy G.
I'm passing. Passing big time, but with, whatever, he does entertain me sometimes and, on Twitter, so it's just his takes are ridiculous. So there's
He's
that.
like a necessary there's a Pavi G in every sport, and it's necessary,
Yeah,
like, you can see I mean, I don't follow him, but he comes up on my feed every now and then, and I'm like, "Hey,
that's
like, this."
crazy. I also don't follow him. He just comes up.
Hey, and that means he's doing something right. But I see now I'm kinda scrolling through his page real quick, and I think I see why you don't like him, and it's has to do with one man that just tied, Federer for what, the most Grand Slam wins in singles matches?
Uh, No, it's great to go to his page, man. Every time, Djokovic, wakes up in the morning, he's praising everyone for that. He says how amazing Djokovic is, and then when he loses his big matches, like to Carlos Alcaraz, he goes, "How could he not? He's 37. Alcaraz is too good. Well played, Carlos." But it's pain or it's elation. To be fair, it's what the tennis. It's what makes the tennis armies around the players. It is like he's the king of the Djokovic, the Nole fam. There's other people who are the king of the Fed. It's all fun and games, to be honest. And I love the wars. Like Bane said, I was born in the dark. I was born in the Fedal Djokovic wars.
Yes.
You should have seen some of the old days when I was just in my room, clapping back at them, calling Djokovic names on the streams. It was crazy. So I've been there, and I see what Pavi is. I respect it, but I think he's the worst.
And that's what it's all about, right? That last phrase you just hit, you respect it, but you think he's the worst. That is what we need more of. The respect is there.
I respect him as a human. I don't respect actually the way he says anything on Twitter. I think he's just like such a troll. It's crazy. It's
All right.
crazy. Okay,
Next
next one.
one. Did you see Osaka's Nike outfit that she helped design?
Yes,
Smash or pass?
pass. Just a ridiculous outfit. I just don't know. It's like when you see those clips of people walking down the runways in these insane fashion shows, and they're wearing like
Right.
like a black paper bag and or something, and you're just like,
Who
that's
deemed
not even
this as
art,
fashion?
right? Yeah. So huge pass. What about you, JP?
Yeah, I'm also passing. The only reason I would smash is because when I saw the first video and photo, all I could think was, "Man, if a fan could just reach down and untie that back bow, that would be all time." So, if smashing means she keeps wearing it and I one day have the opportunity to just hit a little whoop, then maybe I will smash it, but for now, I'm passing
This
because
conversation is very suspect. I think, Sid might be sitting upstairs to be like, "You're gonna what now, JP?"
guys, it's all about it has to do with the
It's
bow that
all
she
oh,
designed for her outfit. But it is cool.
uh,
I wish maybe more players would design some stuff. I think we could get some fun ideas going. Maybe Dan Evans can design some socks.
yeah, you would never see what them you would know what the design is, but yeah, I can feel when he
Exactly, and
takes his
that
shoes off at the end of the game, you'll know, and everyone will be, like, waiting for the reveal.
actually,
Uh,
you know what? Maybe I'm smashing Osaka's outfit because I'm starting to realize you don't know fashion like me, like Dan Evans, like Naomi Osaka.
that is just a crazy grouping there of fashionistas. JP Hovey, Daniel Evans, and Naomi Osaka. I think Naomi Osaka probably does know fashion. That outfit just was not it for me personally, but I'm like a meat and potatoes guy. Like it's just like I'm not saying I have an authority here. I'm just passing.
Hey, that's fair, that's fair.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Okay, what is the next one for you, JP? Carolina Mukova shot of the year. Smash or pass?
I will say I'm gonna the reason I added that shot of the year on there is because that's what the US Open tweeted, and
Okay.
so and it w did you see the play?
No, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, it should if you go to my Twitter, I think it's one of my most recent tweets. I haven't been tweeting much today since I've been pissed off.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I don't know if you can hear that. Did she lose the point? I think she lost the point.
No, she won the point.
Damn, wait 1 second here. Oh,
Filth.
oh, It's a perfect lob to the back line. That is too good. Okay,
Behind the
yeah, that
back
is nasty.
lob. I think it was kinda getting a little bit of hate in the replies of, like, "Shot of the year? I don't think so, but definitely needs to go on a highlight reel." I'm like, "Okay, hang on." I don't know if you could pull up whether she meant to lob it or not. I don't know if you could find another behind the back lob in anybody's
Doesn't matter.
highlight reel. You see behind the
It
back shots for sure, but not a lob. So I'm
doesn't matter if she
smashing
believed it. It doesn't she tried to just get a racket on it, and she did, and it lobbed the other person perfectly. People
perfectly.
saying that are insane. Like, that is one of the shots of the year for sure. Like, there's a lot, but,
Yeah,
that's one of the best shots I've ever seen for sure. Because she gets it on the strings.
exactly. So I'm smashing, and I'm screw the haters, Carolina. Don't listen to them because you got two fans right here.
That's right. Huge fans. We're smashing on that. Okay, last one.
Last one is Medvedev's fantasy football team. He didn't say who was on his roster, but for some reason it cracked me up that he plays fantasy football and is into it. They were like, "Hey, we heard you don't really like read much anymore. Like, why don't you read?" And then he turned into, I read a lot when I was 11 and 12, but then it got kind of boring. And now the things that are relaxing to me is competition. I love competition. So I like
Yeah.
playing fantasy football, video games. And I'm just thinking, there is no shot that Medvedev has a good football team. Medvedev, I would love to get proved wrong by you, and please drop your roster because picturing you on draft night, how all of us Americans are on fantasy football draft night, is one of my favorite images I can come up with in my head.
I that would be the greatest thing. He is the golden bull for me as far as podcast guests,
Yeah,
and, him saying, "I love competition," like, I find it relaxing, is like from, White Lotus when the girl's like, "I love beauty." I just picture Medvedev's head going, "I love competition."
right.
What a
Dude,
legend.
you might actually need to take a page out of the Bussin' with the Boys playbook, and we might need to, because we did with Rich Eisen. We tweeted a photo every single day of him until he came on the podcast, and we made it to 700 and like 81 days, and then he finally came.
I feel like is he that much bigger than Bussin' with the Boys? Like, that's crazy. I feel like
Nah,
he
his whole thing was
wanna
like,
come
"I'm not getting on a bus without a motor." We're like, "All right, bro," or without an engine.
That is funny. That's a funny lead up. That's a funny story. Okay. That's all the Smash or Pass. That was a good one. Those were great stories that we went through. I feel like that was an action packed podcast, JP.
That was a fun 57 minutes and 50 seconds of
Yep.
content. And if you agree with that, please leave a comment, please like, please subscribe. The US Open, we're still in the thick of it. So we'll have another episode next week talking about week 2 coming up. We got a player with players. It's tough to know that their schedules are busy, but we hopefully have a player coming on next week, later in the week, for a little
Yep.
surprise interview. But yeah,
That'll be
anything
great.
else?
You really, it's really all up to the surprise here. We will have the PTPA president coming on in the future in a few weeks here. We'll grill him about the center doping trial and a few other things like, what have you really got done in the last couple of years? A few other things, not like saying that you haven't. I just want him to like, clarify like where they're at as an organization,
Yeah,
players. Medvedev will eventually be on. I did email his agent in Montreal. He said no. But that was kind of like last minute. So fair enough. So yeah, that's all she wrote for this week. JP, thank you for hosting valiantly as you always do. This has been the Slice Tennis Podcast presented by Betway. We will see you guys next time here on the show.